the year 2525, if men are still alive, if women can survive, they may find in the year 3535, ain't gonna need to tell the truth, tell no lies. Everything you think and do and say is in a pill that you took today. In the year 4545, ain't gonna need your teeth, won't need your eyes, won't find a thing to chew. Nobody's gonna look at you. In the year 5555, your arms hanging limp at your sides, your legs got nothing to do. Some machine's gonna do that for you. In the year 6565, you won't need a husband, won't need a wife. You'll pick your friends and your children too, from the bottom of a long glass tube. In the year 7510, if God's a-comin', they ought to make it by then. Maybe they'll look around and say, I guess it's time for a judgment day. In the year 8510, God's gonna shake their mighty head and either say, I'm pleased where humanity has been, or tear it down and start again. In the year 9595, kinda wondering if humans will be alive. They're taking everything this old earth can give, they ain't put back nothing. Now it's been 10,000 years, people have cried a billion tears for what they never knew. Now man's reign is through, but through eternal night, the twinkling of starlight, so very far away, maybe it's only yesterday. In the year 2525, if people are still alive, if humans can survive, they may find.
Good morning. My name is Virginia McLean, and I serve on the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spartanburg. It is my delight to welcome you this morning, whether you are joining us physically or virtually. This is a welcoming congregation where everyone is welcome just as we are. If you are visiting with us this morning, we would love to meet you and share more about the life of this congregation. Visitor cards may be found in the pocket of the back of your chair in front of you. Please feel welcome to fill one out and place it in the offering plate during this service so we can connect with you. There are many important announcements in the sheets titled Connect in the back of your bulletin this morning. So please open up and peruse. And I would like to draw your attention to a couple of things in there. Our 9:30 Sunday morning classes have resumed and will continue each Sunday at 9:30 through the fall. Wednesday night meditation has begun as well, each Wednesday evening at 5:30 here in the sanctuary. And we have returned to our regular office hours of Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. This fall, our Mission, Vision, and Covenant team will host another series of gatherings to work on the mission objectives that will guide us over the next few years. You can find more information about these discernment meetings, including the dates, on the second page of the Connect. Please make plans to attend one of the discernment meetings and the November 18th church-wide meeting, where we will determine our mission objectives. All of us have an idea of what we want this congregation to be. That is to say, we each have a vision for this congregation, and our many visions are not all the same. These meetings will help us align our many visions into a shared vision, reduce conflict by having shared purpose, and fuse our gifts to enhance the life of this congregation for all. Please come. One more announcement for those who are planning to attend either Jack or Ed's memorial services. It would be greatly appreciated if you are planning to bring food or be available to help for the after-service reception. Please see Geraldine Mack after church today in the fellowship hall during our coffee hour so that we can prepare for the visiting families and community guests. Thank you. Thank you all for making this place of care and kindness for every one of us. Thank you for making this a place of joy.
Good morning. My name is Mel Fritchie, and I will be serving as your worship associate this morning. And let me add my welcome to this place of magic and wonder. For a chalice lighting, I'm reading from T.S. Eliot's We Shall Not Cease from Exploration. What we call a beginning is often the end. And to make an end is to make a beginning. The end is where we start from. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of our exploring will be to arrive where we started and to know the place for the first time.
Please stand as you're willing and able and join me in hymn number 10 in your gray hymnal.
Forever shall
We have identified 5 areas of ministry in this congregation. One of these areas is care. We care for our world, we care for each other, and hopefully, we care for ourselves. We have a ritual of a rippling bowl, which allows us time and space to share that care. As you are willing, please come forward and drop a stone or a shell in our rippling bowl, symbolizing joy that you have in your heart or concern, and use this time to share these with your community.
God who fills the universe, from the atom to the stars, make firm my changeful heart, so I may do my part and bring joy to all the earth. God who webs the universe with amazing mysteries, make glad my fragile soul, so I can see life whole and bring hope to all the earth. God who keeps the universe by the truths of living love, make strong that love in me, so I can set it free and bring peace to all the earth.
Our covenant was written together by this congregation. A covenant is a promise to one another. It's a way that we try to be together. We do not get it perfect, but we come back week after week, striving to be our better selves. Please say the words of our covenant with me. We are a people of faith and hope. Together we covenant to strive to become our better selves, to honor both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to respond to systems of violence and oppression with the power of a love beyond belief. We have a ministry of care. For some of us, that means hugging as many people as we can get our hands on a Sunday morning. For those of us who do that, it also means leaving our extrovert friends alone if they do not want to hug. It is our tradition to allow some space to greet one another each Sunday, This is that time. Please do so respectfully. Thank you for the reminder, Aaron, that we have other things coming along in the service. We are a generous people. One of our other areas of ministry that we have identified is social justice. Our offertory each week supports the operation of this church, but also one of our designated partners in the community. As a reminder, we share the plate this month with the Africa Development Promise. Half of your loose gifts will go to this fund. Thank you for your generosity for all of our areas of ministry.
Keep forgetting the smell of the warm summer air. I live in a town where you can't smell a thing. You watch your feet for cracks in the pavement. Up above, aliens hover, making home movies for the folks back home of all these weird creatures who lock up their spirits, drill holes in themselves, and live for their secrets. They're all uptight, uptight. Uptight, 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 uptight. I wish they'd swoop down in a country lane, late at night while I'm driving. Take me on board their beautiful ship, show me the world as I'd love to see it. I'd tell all my friends, but they'd never believe me. They'd think I'd finally lost it completely. I'd show them the stars and the meaning of life. They'd shut me away, but I'd be all right. Uptight, uptight, I'm just uptight, 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 uptight.
It's a strange paradox of human being that the stories that shape religious communities, spiritual communities, are stories of great risk. People who set out on quests, who challenge norms and institutions, seeking truth, who are often persecuted and pilloried by those in authority to bring back to their communities liberating truth. We tell these stories in settings that are calcified, stuck, conservative, and unwilling to tolerate any change whatsoever. It's a little strange. Erin just played a song that broke open pop music in the early 2000s. She played it on 1 week's lead time, and it's performed normally by 5 of the greatest musicians of the contemporary art scene living today. She did it on 2 hands and 1 mic. Let's give Erin a huge round of applause. The person who usually sings a song doesn't care how his voice sounds, and so Erin has raised the level of what she's offered us. I'm glad to be in a place as human as any other, where we wrestle with what risks to take and what institutional values to retain, but we strive to choose good risk. And Erin has led us that today. Thank you, Erin. Join me in silence. till my soul gets it right. Can any human being ever reach that kind of light? I call on the resting soul of Galileo, king of night vision, king of insight. I'm not making a joke. You know me, I take everything so seriously. Two Saturday nights ago, I was standing outside on this little balcony right through the windows. I shared with those of you who were here last week. We had a youth lock-in. Thank you, everybody who propped me up through Sunday morning. It was a beautiful night, and at 4 a.m, we went out to the one dark spot on our church campus where the roof line and the surrounding trees block out the ambient light. And we could see more clearly than elsewhere on these grounds constellations. And when the largest of the Perseid meteors arced through space, we could see them for just a moment, like lightning bugs on a zooming trajectory. You can hear in your mind the joyful exclamation of those kids when they would spot one. It was gone before the words could exit their mouths. I see it. I see it. Staring into the night sky, we feel how small we are, how we stand on the edge of a cosmos we barely understand, that we cannot fully perceive. We feel our finitude in the face of the apparent, although we know, illusory eternality of the stars. And yet in our smallness, we also experience vastness, a welling up in our chests, that we are part of all of this beauty. That however little we understand and however distant we are from its origins and its ending, we are a part of this universe. So strange, the way gazing into the night sky changes our perspective on our world and our life in it. And we feel ourselves living two realities at once, infinitesimally small and infinitely vast at the same time. This week, one of our members person of tremendous capability, professor of the highest order, organizer of lives and institutions for the betterment of humankind, Robin Carter, shared with me that one of the courses she's offering to the high school students that she teaches has changed. I remember it from more than 25 years ago as Earth Science. But now the title of the curriculum has changed to Earth and Space Science. Think of the change, just the addition of that one word, and what it's saying to us. That our knowledge base and our perspective on life in this cosmos has shifted enough that it's insufficient to just talk about the geology and physics, the time frames of our planet. There's enough correspondence between the way things work here and the way things work out there, and what our learning out there means for our life here, that we need to expand our view in what we teach. I must admit that in a summer of regressive legislation attacking our educational system, I was glad to hear about expansion in one quarter anyway. That is exactly what we are talking about today. What happens when our worldview, earth science, is challenged by an expanded knowledge of what our world is or what worlds there are. What happens when our received ideas about the world we inhabit are utterly changed by all the worlds extending beyond this one. This summer I spent time reading in epic traditions of world literature. The Iliad, the Odyssey, the Aeneid, the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita, all of these heroic poems from antiquity, teaching us about what it means to step forward, to do our duty, to act in the world, to try to make this world livable in the face of war, competition, aggression. Powerful stories of people asking what to do next in their life, seeking how to live their lives. And of course, in that canon of world epic literature, I also engaged with the classic of epic literature from our own age, the Avengers Infinity movie series. I just want to warn everyone here. I am going to commit vast and extensive blasphemy during the remainder of this meditation, touching on every religious and philosophical tradition represented by you in this room. After this service is over, we're going to do a talkback session out of our humanist tradition where you have the opportunity to ask me questions about anything that I've said and everything I've forgotten to say and everything you think that I should have said that I didn't say and anything else as well. You can stick around after the service and I will be open season for your questions. In the Avengers movie franchise, there is a trilogy about the near end of the world. And in the early episodes of that trilogy, there is a short scene so revolutionary, I cannot believe Marvel Cinematic Universe got away with it. If people are going to protest books in libraries, I don't know why they didn't line up outside of theaters to protest this scene. Probably people just turn off their brains when they're watching movies. Maybe Hollywood looks like too much of a Goliath to pick on. They should see what librarians are made of. Here's the scene. Two groups of human beings meet on a spaceship above Earth. They don't know each other. They're in a high-pressure situation, and they've got their laser beam superpowers and every other thing that can shoot a projectile aimed at each other, threatening to end one another's life in their terror and aggression. And one of these super anxious superheroes turns to the leader of the other group and says, "What master do you serve?" And the other superhero turns to his would-be aggressor and says, "What do you want me to say, Jesus?" To which the other responds, "Wait a minute, you're from Earth?" Let it sink in for a second. This is, bar none, after 4 decades of studying theology, this is the greatest send-up of Orthodox Christianity I have ever heard. The movie sails on and they make $1 billion. But what they're saying is that the Orthodox conception of the Salvator Mundi, the Savior of the world, is a theological conception that does not cope well with life on other planets. The story of Jesus is a story about life on Earth, what about life on all of those other planets that have way more sophisticated cultures and technologies than life here on Earth? Now, we have folks of many different beliefs here. I want to be clear, there are some good theological responses to that, which we can deal with in the talkback session or afterwards, as you like. Both C.S. Lewis and the Marvel Cinematic Universe have themselves great answers by positing multiverses in the Narnia series and in these movies that I'm talking about. But all that is another too long meditation. And we don't need to think that this critique is limited only to Christianity. If, for example, we had found meaning in what are generally called earth-based practices that find meaning in the natural phenomena of our world and in the spirit or spirits that inhabit that world, then what about when we're not on this world anymore? I mean, and please hear me clearly, I love Jesus and I love solstice. But just imagine celebrating solstice and wrestling with our passage through darkness and realizing solstice is just what happens when a relatively mediocre planet circles around its relatively medium-sized sun on the relative edge of a relatively off-center galaxy. It loses a little bit of its cosmic import. And humanism. What about when the people you're interfacing with are not people at all? Do we still call it humanism when we're not talking about human beings anymore? My point is that when our experience of the world shifts because our knowledge shifts, our worldviews can destabilize very quickly. And what we thought was a reasonable framework for understanding our world and building a life can suddenly become very fragile. This has happened to human beings since the beginning of time. Consider the constellations and our ancestors. Let's just work within the Western tradition, perceiving in those constellations their own ancestors, and ancestors become deities from ages past, looking into that sky and telling stories from the images drawn there, only to have a very reasonable thinker like Aristotle come along, and with the simple concept of cause and effect, to posit that whatever those stars might be doing, there must have been somebody or something to get them moving. The prima movens, the prime mover. And with the most elegant and simple logic, something must have caused that effect. The whole pantheon of the gods shakes at its foundations. Or Ptolemy, observing that the stars moved and drawing a diagram of the cosmos that elaborated the ways that people understood planets and stars into a systemic whole that sent shockwaves through astrological and astronomical antique systems. Dante, who wrote the Divine Comedy, the most incredible encyclopedia of early Renaissance learning, philosophy, theology, science, astronomy, all of it posited in an elaborate cosmos, bequeathed by an almighty God to his enlightened mind to share with us all, but which so centers the earth that there's a mountain that souls climb up in order to shoot into heaven. Or if you're unlucky, you go down into a cave in the ground. So geocentric, it can't comprehend with the heliocentrism soon to come in our thought. And imagine the King of France feeling himself so powerful and important that he calls himself the Sun King, only to discover shortly thereafter, during the time of the Enlightenment, that the sun is hot stuff, but not that hot. Over and over again, our worldviews disrupted. Even the power of a mechanistic worldview, measuring and experimenting, developing a scientific method that still serves us today. Also struggling to cope with the ways that we now understand trees to speak with each other, subjectivity in our living world that sends energy and fuel throughout an ecological worldview that exceeds measurement and bends logic. And we can imagine at every step in these cosmological revolutions how institutions and authorities responded. We could summarize it in just a simple phrase: burn them. Burn them with their books. Crucify them. When our worldviews shake at their foundations, we try to restabilize, often through institutional violence. The challenge that knowledge and human being in our cosmos asks of us again and again is to choose instead to just be human beings, to just be people, not to be hierarchical jerks willing to kill people because of a new discovery, but instead to be people of humility, open to new understanding, and therefore more fully human ourselves. When we do that, when we choose openness to new understanding and act with greater humanity, we find that our stories, however outdated they may be, however we may not believe in the God or gods of the constellations or the epics or of the institutions, that they offer us the deepest truths still. Ready for more blasphemy? In that Avengers epic at the very end, a crisis of world-erasing potential is faced. Of course, it's Hollywood, and they want to sell you another $20 box of popcorn. The world's going to end, so eat up. And in that crisis, these superheroes have been fighting and punching and shooting and enacting all forms of violence they can possibly think of, and that CGI can replicate for us. They discover that something different is needed. And not one of them, but 3 of them. Got that? 3 of them. Choose rather than to take life, that they should give their lives to save the lives of the people that they love. And these people who make this choice are like the worst possible people Two are professional assassins, and one of them is a total narcissist. And when they choose self-sacrificial love, when they give their lives to save the lives of others, portals in time and space open. The limitations of our worlds bend. And the life of not one world, but of untold numbers of worlds are saved. Not Salvator Mundi, Savior of the world, but Salvatoris Mundorum, Saviors of worlds. And in my view, that's really what the life of Jesus is all about. Not, do you believe in a person? But would you give your life to save someone else's? In the words of another of those epics I was reading this summer, no greater love has anyone than this, but that they lay down their life for their friends. Not about belief. In fact, the cosmic unfolding of knowledge in these silly cartoon movies in which adults run around acting like people they aren't, it's not about believing, it's about having our ideas completely unravel. And what do you do then? There's a moon orbiting Jupiter. The ice on that moon is kilometers thick. And beneath it, there may be an ocean 100 kilometers deep, almost 62 miles in depth. So distant from the sun, its surface is frozen, and from a telescope's view, it looks pristine. Because any time a foreign object collides into it and pits its surface, that ocean fluctuates beneath the surface of the ice and recovers the perfect spherical surface of this moon, named for a classical figure of Greek mythology, Europa. That if there are vents on the ocean floor of that moon, and if those vents are releasing toxic gases that would kill any one of us in an instant, in that vast salt sea with a frozen cover, there is the formula for life. And that is just one moon in this solar system. Imagine the worlds we can't even see. When the time comes and our minds all bend from the encounter with life in our universe or multiverse beyond what any of us can understand, the question we will face is not, is this real? Everything indicates it will be real. The question will be asked is, what kind of human beings will we be?
Please stand with me as you're willing and able and sing hymn number 1017 in your teal hymnal. are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world would die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Again, these words from T.S. Eliot. What we call a beginning is often the end, and to make an end is to make a beginning. The end is where we start from. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all of our exploring will be to arrive where we started and to know the place for the first time.
Knowledge and beliefs will fail. And institutions will react. What kind of human beings will we be?